Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's all good and great and wonderful. We got another package, and this time I know what's in here. I know who it's from, and that's prompted me to want to talk about this particular package. So, at the beginning of the year, or it might have been late last year, it's a bit of a blur at this point. I hope you don't blame me for being confused. But at some point in the not too distant past, I did a video that I introduced you to a person that I admire, and I was confused by a letter I had received from him. And that man's name is John Elliott. Now, over the past year, I've come to know John Elliott. He interviewed me on his podcast. We've had quite a few email and Twitter exchanges talking about, views and life and that sort of stuff. And he's an amazing person. But I told you about him last year because I received a letter about his 2020 Freedom Tour. This is the sticker that was supposed to accompany this Freedom Tour that he was going on. And I received this letter where he talked about not knowing, living in a libertarian or I guess a leftist bubble. He lives in San Francisco, and his mother had asked him if he knew any conservatives, and he said no. And so he realized he'd been writing his music in a bubble, and he wanted to get out and explore the world. I took that letter to mean that he was a conservative, like he was secretly conservative, and he didn't really know any conservatives, and he was trapped in San Francisco or something. I don't know why I interpreted it that way, but that's what I did. I did a video about it. It got back to him. He got in touch with me, and we had a talk about it, and we've since maintained contact. Obviously, due to what's going on in the world right now, John did not get to go on his Freedom Tour, but the whole point of this tour was a release of a new album. And with the release of the new album, he put it's a double disc, quote disc, a double disc album, if you were, that he decided that instead of picking his 10 or 12 favorite songs out of this plethora of new content he had created, he just decided to release it all. And I really super admire that. And one of the options he had when purchasing these albums, yes, I still purchase my music. I still very much love owning my own music. I don't subscribe to any of the streaming services. So one of the options he had for purchasing his music were these handmade songbooks. And this is, hand-stitched. He made all of these. I've got a little note, which I'm not going to read to you. But it's the Information Age Songbook, Words and Chorus Songbook, or Chords Songbook. It gives a little forward, a little bit about the album, and then it gives, chords and lyrics for all of the songs. And I thought, when I looked at, the prices that he was asking for the music, there was no way I was going to pass up owning this, piece of handmade art from John, because I own all of his produced art, right? I own all of the art that he has created because that's what he is, a musician. But this is the first time I've got a chance to own a piece of visual art, construction art from John. And I'll tell you what, the other reason I did it was because as of right now, if you look up John Elliott Information Age on your favorite streaming service, or if you want to purchase it, you can go to thehereafterishere.com. I'll put links in the description. You can purchase the first album, the first disc of the album. Or right now you can stream the first disc of the album. And I've had that first disc now for a few months because he gave it to anybody who was watching one of his streams and donated money. He would give you the link, an early link to the first disc. So I've been listening to that disc forever and I loved it. Purchasing the songbook got me the second disc early. So I have the second disc. It's not going to be released until, I think he says January. I'm not 100% positive on my time frames here. I'm a little bit goofy with that stuff. But at a later date. So purchasing this book allowed me to get more of his music early. And I'm really enjoying listening to the album. I really enjoyed the first half. It's a little bit more... I feel like it's a little bit more produced. Layered, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but one of the reasons I fell in love with John is because a lot of his songs are just a man and his guitar or a man and his piano maybe some underlaid bass or some underlaid subtle stuff, not heavily produced stuff. And I feel like the second disc of this 2-disc set is a little bit more of that. So, you know, truthfully, obviously I completely misspoke about John when I called him a conservative. He is very much not a conservative, but he's also, I'm not going to say he's also like the most left person I've ever met. He seems to be like a pretty centered individual who has ideas about all of the things, and that's kind of the personality that I have. Like, I don't really view myself being any extreme. I think there's, you know, measures that could be taken on either side that make sense for the good of the whole. And I feel like that's who John is as a person. So I just wanted to reintroduce John to you. If you hadn't watched those old videos, I just wanted to let you know my friend John Elliott has released the first half of an album titled The Information Age. And you should go listen to it and tell me what you think. And come back and put it in the comments. That's what I have for you today. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And John, if you're watching this, thank you very much. I will see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is colloquial. Is an adjective meaning informal, conversational, everyday language. Colloquial poetry is to the real art as the barber's wax dummy is to sculpture. Ezra Pound, an American expatriate poet. Colloquial. I just said it completely wrong. Colloquial. Colloquial.